I'm just a streaming dirt bag baby.
I'm a sexy Asian woman.
Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. I'm just a streaming dirt bag baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. Thank you, Uncle Remus. Thank you, Wesley. And thank you, everybody who came. Now that's a franchise I'd watch.
I think you know why you are here. There's a part of you that the normies fear. Know the truth is what you see, so we welcome you to the home of peace. Of the oddball, the neglected, the outcast, the rejected, we're all here to celebrate. There's no need to be a Pat-clad. We've done away with all the hatred. Every show you love is here. So kick back and grab a beer. There's plenty of discussion, no agenda that we're pushing. We're just here to celebrate. Anti-preparate, rebels in the wonders and the strain. Whenever we are here, you see clear, there's no fear. Until you study every word, as your voice to be heard, 'cause here everyone's a third. We are a sideline menagerie. We've got every alien from A to Z. We know this is where you want to be. We're the greatest channel in the galaxy. Anti-decorating, rebels in the wonders and strain. Whenever we are here, we see clear, there's no fear. Because study every word, have a voice to be heard. 'Cause here everyone's a third. A third. Oh yeah.
Hello world, this is Birdo Prey 5, and congratulations, you are lucky you're about to watch the most awesome live stream ever. Yes, my live streams suck, and in fact, embarrassment to the internet. Compared to this guy, I have not been feeling that well. Winter for me is terrible as always, with the nosebleeds, and then the bloody hard boogers. Anti-Tracker is better than me, and Kuroga is a sham. It's true I'm holding Averjam against his will, is rotting in Kuroga prison. For daring to tell the truth, the jerk nobody tells the truth about me and gets away with it. Now off to my sheep baths.
It's the anti-tracker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulty.
What is going on, guys? Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tracker here. Indy Tiger was first in the house today, followed quickly by Richie Poole, Resolute Term, and then Richie said, damn, because just couldn't get first. Mike Richards is here from Columbus, Ohio. Number one sci-fi, says I sure hope you watch and like my spoilers videos. I did not number one sci-fi, nothing personal, and I know Bird said this during his stream. I try to avoid the spoilers if I can. I got the gist that you'd that there was like, I guess the wrong episode played last week in Japan, so they got to see episode 7 instead of episode 6. So all the info for what happens in episode 7 is out. But I don't want to know. I'd rather, because here's the thing. Hearing a description of it is not the same as seeing it. So let's say that, I don't know, say a character dies or something. And when you read it, you're like, oh man, that sucks. I didn't want that character to die. And so then you're expecting it through the episode. And when the character does die, you're like, shh. But if you watch the episode and it happens organically and natural and you're like, holy crap, they went there, it can be an awesome moment. So it just depends, you know, and so I'd rather just not know. However, I don't hold anything against you for putting the video out there. I hope it does your channel well. I truly do. I just, you know, for me personally, I can't watch that. Nightbreeze donated $1, and Thomas Potts actually already beat him to it. Thomas Potts put in $1.99 and says, for the Mom O' Prey Food Fund. Yes, indeed, we do need to raise funds for Mom O' Prey's food, particularly if you're in Canada. Canadians, you really don't let me down tonight, because I need at least one Canadian super chat, because Bird has made a special message just for Canadians. And of course, you're at Bird stream, you've already seen it. Anyway, but number 22, you got it, Thomas. The classics. And for some reason, that's Thomas's favorite. I haven't been able to figure out why. Alright, so then where were we? Rambling says hello. Tubian says, son of a bitch, I thought I was first. Sorry, buddy. Hey, it's that guy I watch in Zoidberg voices. Good evening, folks. Hashtag peace in Turkestan / Kuroga. Well, I can only hope, but unfortunately the Kurogans don't like talking about peace. They'll say they do, and then they take our orphans and put them in the mines. So, you know. And I understand why they take our orphans. It's because, see, in Turkestan, there are women, and so we have children, and so they steal them. They say they're not really orphans, they're just stolen children. Death to turds, son of a bitch, that damn Kurogan dictator, Bird of Prey 5, is trying to brainwash us with the deer bobs. Yeah, you gotta be careful of that. He's good at it. Jeff says, greetings, sir, zeroth again. Now, I'm not gonna even argue with you today. No. Nightbreeze says hi. Kronos says first. Valor says, Mr. Miles always first. I'm always awesome. Bird of Prey 5 loves having sex with females, and Auntie is forever cuter than Baby Yoda. Well, I agree with you on most of those points. Ralph says, time to party indeed. Death Dealers in the house says, hey, how you doing, my friend? Wish I could have been with you at Bird's Place. That dude is getting crazy. He is definitely crazy. Thomas says, early, jerk. Yes, I took the time off from work, and I gave Mrs. Antchecker the choice. I said, look, we could hang out now, and then I'll do my live stream, or I'll do my live stream early, and then we'll hang out. And she said, do your live stream early, and then we'll hang out. So here I am. Speaking of which, Mrs. Antchecker's waving at the crowd, and Chrono says hi to Mrs. Antchecker because, you know, everybody loves her more than me. Josh talking to Mrs. Antchecker. Andy's talking to Mrs. Antchecker. Alexander's talking to Mrs. Antchecker. Number one sci-fi is talking about... Chrono says, send this a bit early. Yes, I did just explain that. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. Nightbreeze put in a buck, says, don't forget to switch to live chat. I did not do that. Dang it. There. Now I did. But now I gotta go back up here. All right. Hit the like button, turn on notifications, tell your friends, donate to treats for Auntie, down with Karoga, and death to Discovery. Indeed, my friend. And thank you, Nightbreeze, my friend. Trekkie Gal is in the house, says, hi, Antchecker, Mrs. Antchecker, how you doing, Trekkie Gal? Good to see you. I saw you over at Bird Stream. Josh says, Mrs. Antchecker, can we have coffee with Mrs. Antchecker stream? Still working on that, huh? Mark Andy says, Andrew, you need the bird dancing clip to the song Dance Like a Karogan, which would be suspiciously like Dance Like an Egyptian. That's not bad, actually. That's not bad. We might have to contract Aberjam on that one. Bird of Prey is sighing because he didn't think the truth would get out. Jeff says, love your opening credits. Thank you, my friend. So does Bird of Prey. Bird of Prey is simply the best. Well, at least he's being honest for once. Greetings, oh great Turnistani. Best intro ever, and all of it is true. Indeed it is. We're still trying to rescue you, my friend. Yes. And Bird of Prey says, I am here. Hello, all. Aren't you supposed to say hello, world? Crow says, holy smokes, I'm so pleased you reactivated the non-busted 3D printer. Yes, I started this test print yesterday. I thought it was a fail because you see all the stringy stuff on the side, and that was definitely a bad sign. However, I think that it may actually be okay because all the stringing seems to be on the supports, which, so hopefully that's the case. We'll find out when it's done printing sometime tomorrow, I believe. Laughable Larry puts $2 in and says, did you hear the Discovery got renewed for Season 5? No, I did not. The last I heard was that there was no confirmation on anything past Season 3. And in fact, can't remember who it is. I think it was one of the actors. I'm not going to name them because I'd just be guessing. But one of the actors, I can't remember which one, actually said in a interview that they were still waiting to hear on Season 4. So unless you got it from some official CBS thing, I would take that with a huge grain of salt, my friend. Let's see. And so, where the hell is DJ? I do not know. Darren says, you cut me off, you turd. I did not mean to. I don't know how that happened, to be honest with you. I'd have to, but I think the gist of the video is there. I haven't seen, I didn't rewatch it since I found out about that, because when I watched it initially, it seemed to be fine. So, but, sorry. Bird of Prey 5 admits the truth. The only reason evil dictators ever tell the truth is because they think they're going to win. I hope Lore and Bird of Prey 5 haven't joined forces. That would be bad. That would be bad, but I don't think that Lore would fall for Bird of Prey's tricks. because he would have to understand them. Dear Andy Trigger, greetings, my friends. Sorry if I ever pissed you off. Had some bad days. Greetings, my friends and fellow nerds. That's all right, Sci-Fi. You know what? My whole thing, I just want you to take it seriously because I think you have potential, but you've got to take it seriously. And so, yes, I was ticked at you, but I also, here's the thing, I don't like the idea that the nerd, you know, I want there to be more stuff like what, having you and DJ and Bird and everybody, I think we should have people streaming all the freaking time. And yes, even overlapping streams is perfectly fine. But we've got to build each other up and be dependable. If we say, hey, I'm going to stream. You know, keep your promises as best you can. And I know a lot of people are going to say pot kettle because I've been really bad. I admit that, but you should do everything in your power to do the best you can. It's just like when I say produce more content, and I suck at producing content. So what did I do? I started recruiting people like Rock Solid and Darren and others to help me because I can't do it. I'm physically just running into brick walls on a regular basis with all the different issues I've been dealing with. And poor Mrs. Anti-Trekker, best wife ever, having to put up with me and my frustration and anger about all this. Speaking of which, Mrs. Anti-Trekker's taking off, says, have fun, guys. Thank you, my beautiful wife. DJ says, all hail, Mrs. Anti-Trekker, queen of turds, and bow down before your queen. And why do you call yourself a Kurogan? Kurogans don't bow down before the queen of all turds. Rambling Canuck is here, says, hello, Mrs. Antichecker, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Yes, Mrs. Antichecker is Rambling Canuck's 100, or no, she's Life with Matthew's 100th subscriber. I don't know what number she is for you, Rambling. Mrs. Antichecker, hello there, saintly woman of Turdistan. That is indeed a great name for her. Number 1 says, I'm at 97 views for my first video, 64 in the short video. I hope that you will watch it after the episode airs. I will, number 1, I will. Like I said, it's nothing against you, obviously. I want your channel to continue to grow, but I also don't want to know what happens in the episode beforehand, so I'm not going to watch your video if it's going to give that away. But like I said, I don't fault you for doing it, and if you do want to see the spoilers, check out number 1 Sci-Fi. He's right there in the chat right now. Go to his channel and check him out. He is a genuine member of the nerd community here, and so, you know, he deserves a little bit of love. Kronos says, cool shirt, thank you, I do like this one. Night Breeze hailing Mrs. Anti-Checker. Death Dealer says, wait, who's the blonde dancing with Bird? Funny story, in Bird's last stream, and I didn't capture it, I was going to record that too, but there was just so much material I had to record from Bird today. But he actually said they were hired by his company. Hookers. They were hired by his company. And notice how she's like constantly doing this, like she's really scared. And it is a fact that she has not been seen since that particular dance. Laughable Larry says, I got banned from Steve Shive's channel for disagreeing with him. Really irritated since I've been watching his content for well over a year. Yeah, you got to be careful about Steve Shives. He will kick you out in a heartbeat. I'm surprised he hasn't kicked me yet. Or for all I know he has, and I just didn't realize it because I don't post often on his channel. But yeah, he's kind of got a thin skin. And so you disagree with him, he's gone. He wants an echo chamber. He really does. And don't get me wrong, I love Steve Shives. Personally, I think he's a great guy. I've talked to him several times. And, you know, even fighting with him, he's good-natured, he's friendly, he can be a lot of fun to hang out with. And yet, he's a complete dick as far as the way he runs his channel. And that, like, if you disagree with him, blocked. And, you know, he thinks any kind of disagreement is like a troll or spam or whatever. And it's like, okay, dude. It's just like, and by the way, I think it was, I can't remember, I think it was Daniel's Hot Topics was trying to tell me that how he did this great review of Discovery. And I didn't watch it at that point. And I said, well, you know what? I'll bet you somewhere in the review he's going to mention Donald Trump. So I watched the review. And I was right. The man can't put out a video without throwing Donald Trump in there somehow. And it's like, you know what, I understand he's a liberal. You don't like Donald Trump, you don't like his policies. That's totally cool. But you know what Star Trek isn't about? Donald Trump. Jeff saying hi to Mrs. Antichecker. Darren saying, you dried up chunk of poopy. You also miscropped today's video. What's with the black bar at the top? Do I have to do everything? Well, Was this your first video? I don't know what happened. I honestly, because I did have to re-render it like 3 times, and somehow I guess on the 3rd time it screwed up. So yeah. Tom says, I thought you said the print failed. I thought it had, but apparently it seems to be still kicking. And so I will keep an eye on it and see how it goes. It looks to be it's a little better than halfway through at this point, so it probably won't be done until like this time tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And let's see. Thomas said, I already read that. Night Breeze says, don't forget my StreamYards. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I played this. We were talking about Night Breeze. I did read that. Or unless you put that in before I read it, because that was, well, it wasn't that long ago. So, sorry if I'm confused, but yes, I did read that, and we did watch Death to Disco, right? Yeah. And then the chat had to jump to mess things up. Josh says, where's Auntie? Did Bird of Prey kidnap Auntie? No, Auntie is in fact right here. I know you can't see her, but because the Auntie cam is currently temporarily out of commission. But we will get the Auntie-cam back as soon as possible. But yes, Auntie is in fact right here. As always, she is diligently sleeping. Unless, of course, I grab a snack. In which case, she will stop diligently sleeping just long enough to get a snack. See if I can get... Come on, Auntie. You want to come on? Come on. Come up here and get the snack. You can do it. Come on. There you go. So there, you got a split second of Auntie on the screen, and this. So there. Oh man. Talking to Mrs. Antchecker, Captain Trek. We all love Miss Antchecker more than you now and forever. I know it's true. Commander Shutter said in the house, good evening, guys and dolls. What starship would you like to spend a week on? Mine would be the Enterprise D, all good things version. Well, excuse me. If you're talking about just spending a week, like, you know, you're just a visitor on the starship, be sure the Enterprise D, because it's a freaking luxury liner. You got 75 holodecks, big spacious staterooms, nice views from every room. Yeah, of course. Watch DJ video of Doctor Who. No, I don't want to kill myself. But I heard a little bit about that Doctor Who. And, well, without Mrs. Antchecker, would there be an anti-trekker? Probably not. Nightbreeze says, if Mrs. Antchecker and Mama Prey did a live stream together, it would set records for views and super chats. You're probably right. And there's Lawful Larry's $2. And again, I have not heard anything about any renewals for Discovery. And yeah. True fact, Michael Burnham is from Turkestan. Actually, that is false, DJ, and you know it. Michael Burnham is in fact an alpacan. Would you hope to get at least, let's see. I would hope that you get at least 1 day a week off work. I do, but I took today off as an extra day off. Here's the problem though, honestly. It's not that I do get my 2 days a week off from work, but I also never get to rest. And so, because between doctor's appointments, taking Mrs. Antchecker to doctor's appointments, then now I have the prison ministry I do, not to mention trying to put out YouTube content. My time is spent. So today, I tried to get some work done earlier. I failed miserably because I've just been so tired. After this live stream, I'm going to hang out with Mrs. Antchecker for a while and relax, and then tomorrow try to hit the ground running. Michael Burnham is a distant relative of Michael J. Crawford. True fact. Whatever. News came out today. They got renewed for 4 and 5. News from who, Laughable Larry? That's what I want to know. News from whom? Where did you get said news? Because here's the thing. The internet is full of fake news and rumors. Where is Barbie? Where is Hulk? Darren? Ralph says, 5 years of Discovery, we still need more antibiotics. Yeah, no kidding. Captain Trek says, Mr. Miles to claim first, better than saying that Antchecker is best. Wait, Kronos, we all allow Mr. Miles to claim first, better than saying that Antchecker is best. Well, it's better to say Mr. Miles is first than that I'm best? Is that what you're saying? Or are you just saying I am the best and it's okay for Mr. Miles to be first? I'm confused. I'm obviously confused. Darren says, I didn't know this, but apparently there's an episode of the Orville where the tardigrade provides porn to the ship and the ship gets a venereal disease, or STD, if you will. Hilarious. That would be hilarious if true. Trekkie Gal says, may I ask, what are you printing? You may. It's actually a weighted companion cube is what I'm attempting to print. Thomas says, DJ was never a Kurogan. Well, what is he? Oh, he does not call myself. Oh, you're now packing. That's why you're trying to push Michael Burnham off on us, because she's one of you. I get it. I can understand why you would want to do that. Josh says, how long till Mrs. Antchecker takes you behind the barn and treats you like Old Yeller? Wow. That went dark. DJ Odyssey calls himself a rainbow unicorn bunny. Well, that's true, too. Yes, Bird tends to make a lot of material. He sure does. Surf says, what is being printed? Well, I already said it, but yes, it is a weighted companion cube. Probably a little over halfway through. Steve shives to say, shifty, beady-eyed little... come on, Darren. That's a bit much, all right? Look, I love Steve. I just don't like the way he runs his channel. Ralph says, you sort of inspired me. I'm just about done setting up my streaming studio. Very cool, Ralph. Well, I hope that it goes well for you. But don't forget, you do, and I know it's tough, and I know I'm horrible about it myself, but you do want to intermix your streams and edited videos. Streams are great, and I love streams. If I could, I would just do live streams, because I absolutely love hanging out with you guys. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. However, it's your edited content that gets you subscribers. As you gain subscribers, some of them will watch your streams, and you start to gain a loyal following in the streams, and that's how you grow as a channel. You've got to mix it up. Sci-Fi Nation says, last night wasn't my fault. The main board fried on my PC. At least I had a backup ready to go at a moment's notice, and thank you for telling everyone what happened. Well, I'm not blaming you for last night. I understand technical problems happen. You know what I'm talking about. It wasn't last night. We all know Kuroga lies. It's been proven. Yeah, I know. Mrs. Antchecker is the only one who can win supporters over from Bird of Prey 5. Well, I don't think she's the only one, but she's the one that is the most compelling, for sure. Steve Shies blocked me as well. Well, Jeff, I'm sorry. Like I said, I haven't tried to post anything on his channel recently. But the last thing I posted was a strong disagreement to him, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm blocked, but yeah. Shies does not take his TDS medication? Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, you're probably right. That he does suffer from. Josh is saying to Jake, so Jacob anti_, remember it's not underscore, it's dash, but thank you, Josh, for replying to him so that I would see it. What's your favorite Star Trek series? Well, Josh is correct. My favorite Star Trek series is TOS, followed not too far behind by Deep Space Nine. And then after Deep Space Nine, it kind of gets contentious as to where I rank the rest. However, I would currently, just based on my mood right now, and these do switch around just based on mood. So I would go TOS, Deep Space Nine, then I'll say Enterprise, the animated series, Picard, Voyager, TNG, Discovery. And I know some people find that offensive, but TNG has got some of the best episodes in all of Trek, but as a series, no. Can you just put Play-Doh in the 3D printer? Sure, if you want to break the 3D printer. It was before you played it. No problem, Nightbreeze. Steve has Trump derangement syndrome, like the rest of the Phantom Menace has their own version of Trump derangement syndrome. Well, the Phantom Menace has KDS, Kurtzman derangement syndrome, as well as a little bit of JJDS. And that's okay. You know, I mean, we all have our triggers, right? And don't get me wrong, you know, you guys know that most of the big players in the Phantom Menace, I am personal friends with a lot of them. I really care about these guys, and I genuinely like them. That being said, I do think some of them are a little obsessed over, oh, this guy sucks, therefore anything this guy is involved with must suck. Let's see. Put Auntie up to the mic and you lay in her bed for the show. Why would I do that? Like any other dog, she will move for food and poo. Yeah, that's about right. Richie says Amy is endorsing Biden right now. Amy for vice president. Amy who? Amy Poehler? Amy Adams? Amy who? Hello, everyone from Greater Seattle, and happy Texas Independence Day. Gee, I miss Texas and my native Oklahoma. And hello, Michael, 1 of 2. How you doing, Donnie, and 2 of 2? Sorry for the delay since I had to upload my latest deviation on my Deviant Art page. Look at what the NBC Rainbow Peacock logo will look like in 2026, marking the first 10 seconds of your review of Doctor Who. So what, you just like completely go nuts? I'm sorry. Max says possible. And by the way, Donnie, what? And I'll give you a wrench for a minute so you can do it if you're still here. All right. So if you could put in the link to your Deviant Art if you want to share it. If you don't want to share it, just say no thanks. But if you want people to be able to check out your Deviant Art, Deviant, put it in. Possibly knows there are numerous Facebook Star Trek groups like Trekverse with too many snowflakes and might learn from NPC YouTuber The Dave Cullen Show, USS Titan, NCC 80102. Well, I don't know if I would call The Dave Cullen Show a snowflake, or not NPC. I don't agree with everything Dave Cullen says, but I don't think that he's an NPC. And there, Donnie put the Deviant Art page in there, so if anybody is interested in checking out Donnie's Deviant Art page, let's see what... So there's the NBC Peacock. And let's see, there's some random chick. Let's see. Oh, okay. So we click on your name there. I'd never go to DeviantArt. So it looks like you've been doing a lot of different logos. And I see some starships and stuff. I'll have to check it out. So very cool. I am definitely not a particularly talented artist, so I'm always impressed. Anyway, but what do you mean I possibly know there are numerous? Of course, I know there are lots of Facebook Star Trek groups. I'm just not in any of them. Although, Captain Foley keeps sending me crap from Beam Me Up Hottie, which is just like scantily clad women in Star Trek cosplay for some reason. Valor says, in other words, Phantom Menace has RJDS, KKDS, JJDS, etc. Yes, there's a few of them. Some website called Geeks Worldwide said about Star Trek Discovery, but no one else has said anything. Well, yeah, then I would not believe it, quite frankly. Let's see. Not exactly renewal, but close, says Jeff, and puts a link in. So what's that from? So Star Trek Season 4 is reportedly in active development. That means nothing in Hollywood speak. That genuinely means nothing. There are films that have been in active development for decades. What is the best looking phaser in Trek? What about best looking handheld weapon in sci-fi? That's a toughie. As far as best looking phaser in Trek, I gotta go with the classic phaser Type 2. I think it's a beautiful design. It clearly looks like what it is. I also like the integration of the Phaser Type 1 into the Phaser Type 2. I think that that's both clever and utilitarian. But that's something that you could say about a lot of the stuff from the original series. As far as best handheld weapon in all of sci-fi, that's tougher. Because there's been a lot of good ones. Some that stand out as being original ideas, like I don't know what they call them, like ray guns, I think is actually what they call them, ray guns in Space 1999, where they have the different emitters along the front. It's not a pistol type configuration. It's a very unique looking weapon. It looks more like a tool than a weapon. And so there's that one. There's obviously blasters from Star Wars, which mostly look like classic World War II weaponry, which is on purpose. You know, I do like I can't remember what it's called, but the sonic weapon that they use in Dune, that the Freemen use. So there's way too many. Matt Logan says, "Hey, Chuck, it's been a while since I caught a stream. Did you get a chance to see Shatner at the War Memorial in Nashville a couple of weeks ago?" I did not. Unfortunately, I've been working. Average Jam says, "That blue waffle on the screen behind you is no substitute for Berta." Well, it's not a blue waffle exactly, but I'm sorry. D. Newton says, "Hello, and checking everyone. Just want to say," and the chat jumped on me, "I am not completely exhausted and did not at first think the cord for the 3D printer was a snake on the view screen." Dragon Sword says, "There's news on Star Trek Discovery actor named Kenneth Mitchell, who has been diagnosed with ALS. He played the adult albino Clink, I believe. If so, that's sad, although, you know, and yeah, that just kind of sucks. I don't know that Kenneth is still an active part of Discovery, but I wish him well. I know that ALS is not a fun thing to go through. CBR.com is something about Discovery Season 4. If it's that same thing where it's an active development, yeah, reportedly, let's see, Star Trek Discovery reportedly lands 4th season renewal. Although CBS All Access has not announced it yet. So, in other words, nothing official. Until you get something official, do not believe it, people. Don't. Because keep in mind that management at CBS has just changed hands. I don't think that they're going to be announcing anything real soon. And quite frankly, I don't think they're going to announce anything until after they see how Season 3 does. So, let's see. Laughable says, "I'd spend a week on Voyager. Colors are more pleasing to look at." Yeah, but they don't have the amenities that the D has, you know? Ralph says, "Editing content is one thing I can do. I edit local TV show weekly." Very cool, my friend. I'm jealous of you. I would love to have a job as an editor. Even though, now, unfortunately, with my hands, I wouldn't be that fast at it. I would still, I think, be good at it, but I would not be fast. And that's the problem. I forgot to ask you, what events do the cheesy narwhals actually compete in? I don't know yet. And so if we find out anything, I will let you know. I can only tell you that my boss was rolling on the floor listening to your song. And for those of you that are trying to figure out what I'm talking about, where my employer is, we divided our teams up into some kind of competition that we're getting ready to do between different teams throughout the organization. And we had to come up with a team name, and for some reason, our team name is the Fierce Narwhal Cheetos. Darren says, "Children and animals hate Steve Shives. He's the kind of guy who steps out of the shower to take a leak. Okay. He eats mashed potatoes with his hands. He like cats. He's Kurokan." Do you think the artificial life form from what girls are made from maybe the AI the Romulans created? No, I don't know. That's actually an interesting one, because that we never did find out who the original creators of that system were. But, that could be, if they really wanted to get clever, that could be the planet that the Romulans are looking for. Tribbles shriek in the presence of Steve Shives. Well, that is true. That is true. Captain Redneck's in the house, says, "Darren, for epic videos of Shives getting derailed, look up a YouTuber called Bearing. Dude nails it every time." Very good. I didn't know about that. You're going to register as a candidate for the real election, and if so, what name do we vote for? Am I going to register as a candidate for the real election? I would love to, but I do not have nearly enough support for that. I would have to raise tens of millions of dollars and actually have experience, so probably won't. And then Di puts his SoundCloud in there. Wow, you're just all over the web, aren't you? I don't know, what do you do on SoundCloud? Main theme from the Cape. Fanfare for Oscar. Very cool. I don't want to play too much because I don't want to get a copyright strike. I'm mad Foley doesn't send me anything from Beam Me Up Hottie. Well, that's... Sorry. Like I said, not exactly a renewal statement. Yeah, and so until CBS says it, or StarTrek.com, because StarTrek.com is owned by CBS, unless they actually put out an official announcement, do not believe it. The Lawgiver is the best weapon. The Lawgiver is pretty good. I'll give you that. But the thing is that, I mean, the type, is there really anything the Lawgiver can do that a Type 2 phaser can't? I feel that Anas might win his appeal versus CBS. Alex Kurtzman regarding Discovery use of the tardigrade. Nerdrotics Gary did a video on it today. Yes. I hope that Anas is successful because I think that CBS did rip him off. The problem is I don't know that it's provable in court. He may get the appeal to go to another level, but I don't think he's going to win ultimately. I don't think his case is a winner, but that's just my own personal opinion. I would like to see him win, however, because I do think that the creators of Discovery ripped him off. So, yeah. Blasters from the original Battlestar Galactica. Those things look like hair dryers to me. I think Space 1999, I remember seeing as a kid where somebody died in the last episode. I don't remember that. Gee, my keyboard must have a mind of its own sometimes. That's all right. Surf says, I like Star-Lord's gun. Yeah, I do like Star-Lord's gun. The fact that it has like 4 elemental settings is pretty cool. Blade Runner had the best handgun. It was just a standard gun, really. So, you know. What are your thoughts in Picard? So far, I'm enjoying the show. It has a couple of major drawbacks for me, but I am not a hater on it. I've actually enjoyed the show overall. If you average all the scores of all the episodes together, you come up with about a 6.75 out of 10. So you can take that for what you will. It's good, not great. The biggest pros in the show's favor is I think that the story is interesting as far as the whole plot with the Romulans and Federations conspiring and what is really going on. Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't, kind of thing. I think that's interesting. I also think that both the evolution of Picard himself and the evolution of Starfleet in the time from the last time we saw them is logical. And I also like the fact that we're dealing with genuine repercussions from the supernova event. So I think that all of that is big pluses. There are 2 major things I don't like about the show. The first is the adult, explicit content. Now, so far, that's just been in the form of 4-letter words, basically F-bombs, S-bombs, and stuff like that. That's never really been a major part of Trek. Trek has always been, up until Discovery, has been pretty much a family-friendly type of series. And the idea there was that the kids, and this is something that's absolutely true of the original Trek through Enterprise, is that young people would watch these shows and get inspired to get involved in science and astronomy and even be astronauts and stuff like that. There have been multiple astronauts, there have been multiple engineering breakthroughs and stuff, all inspired by Star Trek directly. The guy that invented the cell phone because he thought Captain Kirk's communicator was cool. Right? That's how big of an influence Star Trek had on kids. New Trek, not going to happen, because the problem is that in the new Trek, it's it's just too graphic. Any sane parent, well, most sane parents are not going to let their kids watch that show, assuming that they don't want their kids watching explicit content. The other big drawback is the fact that the writing is nihilistic. I'm not saying that every character is a nihilist. Like, I don't think that Picard is a nihilist. But the show is being written from a nihilistic perspective. Life has no intrinsic value or meaning on this series. None. And that is the absolute worst thing about this show, because that's what makes it not feel like Trek. The problem is, most of the detractors don't want to talk about the nihilism as being the primary problem. They'd rather talk about canonical issues, which really aren't that big a deal. The nihilism is the one thing that if somebody says, "Oh man, this is why I won't watch a show," you're going to get no argument from me. That is absolutely no argument from me, because that is the biggest problem with this show. And yes, Martin, I've been saying nihilistic a lot lately, but that's because that's the term for what's going on with New Trek. And yes, I might be sounding like a preacher at this point, talking about it all the time, but it's true. The nihilism is what is breaking the Trek franchise. So there you go. Alien's pulse rifle, very cool weapon, but really boils down to just being a caseless ammunition standard machine gun with grenade launcher. Not that much different than an M16 with a grenade launcher mounted. Piano Dean says, darn, I'm late to the stream, somehow missed the notification. How the heck things going? I see the turd still red. Yeah, I took today off, so that's nice. After this live stream, I'm just going to hang out with Mrs. Antchecker for the rest of the night, so I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow, I'm also taking the day off, but tomorrow I'm going to be working on stuff for the channel pretty much all day, except for during an appointment I have in the morning. Does Anas have a chance to win the appeal versus CBS and Alex Kurtzman? Does he have a chance? Sure. Is it a good chance? No. But I do wish him well. Da Brown Guy says, hey, I just want to say hi. Enjoyed much of your content. Thank you, Da Brown Guy. Good to see you. Another article said Discovery Season 5 approval and Seasons 4 and 5 being made back to back. Well, like I said, until you hear from CBS, I don't believe it. It's because here's the thing. If a deal was truly struck, then everybody would be talking about it. Now, they may be in negotiations for doing that, but until CBS announces it, I'm not going to buy it. Just got home from a 2.5-hour drive from work, normally 1.5 hours. Glad to be home. What did I miss? Any Kurogan She-Males Dancing with Bird? In fact, yes, you did miss Kurogan She-Males Dancing with Bird earlier. Personally, I don't think a smaller Starfleet ships that are not designed for long trips should have holodecks. Those little ships that hop between star bases don't need them, just saying. I'm not disagreeing with you on that, Darren. I'm just saying, but if the question is, what ship would you like to spend some time on? I want a ship with holodecks. DJ says, good night all, have a great time. Remember, if you haven't seen it, check out my Doctor Who review in the first 10 seconds of me acting like anti-trekker. Just shamelessly plug, there you go. Check out DJ Odyssey. He's a friend of the channel, blah, blah, blah. Subscribe, yeah. Valor says, I would like to spend a week on the original Enterprise still under Captain Kirk. That would be cool, but don't you dare put on a red shirt. Anyone have any good Klingon Triple Hunt songs? Not that I know of. Di says, thanks, Michael. All the music mock-up covers of tunes composed by someone else are done free, no cost. That way I would not be in jeopardy of copyright strike. No, I understand that, but I still can't play it on my channel because then I would get a copyright strike for it. Thomas says, you're in Tennessee. You only need 15 votes on a petition to get your name on the state ballot. Really? Only 15 votes? That's pretty lame. I didn't think it was that low. I could put my name on the ballot, but here's the thing. Nobody's going to vote for me. I would love to run for office, but although I would also have to consult with my employer because I'm not allowed to run for office unless I quit my job or I take a leave of absence from my job. Jacob says, have you played Star Trek Online? I have. I suck at it, but yes, I have played it. The pistols of DC villains like Captain Cold and Mr. Freeze are pretty cool and useful. They are. I will grant you that. And let's see. Jeff says, I always like the hand weapons in the black hole. They had a unique look to them. They did. That's actually a good one, too. Trekkie Gal says, good old Buck Rogers blaster from the 1930s. Now, that is a classic. Good call. SC say, Surf Tritonics fixed bump. Andy Trekker's out of his mind. It was way more powerful than a regular gun. Not sure if you're talking about Which gun? If you're are you talking about the pulse rifle from Aliens? Because no, if they describe exactly what it is. It's just caseless ammunition, so it can hold more rounds than a regular gun today. And it doesn't even hold that many more. Like if you have a banana clip in an M16, that holds like 45 rounds, and this thing holds 100. And based on the explosions from the grenades, not that powerful either. If enough people wrote in anti-Joker for president, then I think the name would be read on air. I wonder how hard the reports would have to be to keep it straight face while saying your name. That would be hilarious. Commander Shutter says, Scotty inspired me to become a mechanic. That way I can be a miracle worker. See, there you go. And yes, Martin, nihilistic is my new favorite word. What? No 3D mirrors? Huh? Hello, Andrew. The design of the Motorola flip phone was inspired by a communicator. The TOS communicator was a GD walkie-talkie with a dust cover. Yeah, but no, the guy that here's the thing. Yes, the design of the Motorola flip phone was inspired by the communicator, but the guy that actually designed the cellular phone, that actually came up with the concept for a cellular phone, was trying to come up with a way to communicate in a similar fashion as they do on Star Trek. And he knew that it wasn't realistic that people would be walking around with, at the time, a radio backpack in order to communicate over long distances. Because in order to get a transmission for miles and miles and miles like you would have to with a walkie-talkie, that's what you need. And so he came up with the concept that we now we casually call cellular, and most people don't even know what that means. It just basically means that the walkie-talkie is very, very low powered, but there are receivers all over the place called cells, and whatever cell you're in relays your signal, blah, blah, blah. That's the cellular network, right? That guy was inspired by Trek. STD did inspire you to make this YouTube channel. The only good thing Star Trek Discovery has done. Well, and Discovery also... okay. They did come up with these nifty black badges. I do think the black badges are cool looking. So I'll give them that, too. Darren liked Robocop's Beretta. I like that it was so powerful he could only he could hold and fire it. That's actually not bad. How far are you from 14,000? About 80. Amazingly, yes. Speaking of CBS, the current 10th season of Hawaii Five-0 reboot is already the final one. Thoughts? Well, I don't think already. 10 seasons is a pretty good run for a show these days. And personally, I think it should have been canceled after about season 3 or 4. I mean, don't get me wrong. Me and Mrs. Entricker watched it every week when it first came on, and then it just became wash, rinse, repeat. And so once they sunk into the wash, rinse, repeat mode, it's time to just give it up. But nope, they kept dragging it on. Are you going to have time to do a subscriber stream at Rational Roundtable just cause while Bird of Prey is streaming tomorrow? I don't know. I might do something. Yes, that's actually, you know what, Thomas? I will try to do that. When Bird streams tomorrow, we will do a patriotic anti-propaganda stream. Why the dancing escort Dancing with Bird hasn't been seen since then, but you have your getting out of Bird's Jeep in Super Chat 17. Wow, she really went downhill then. Darren said, I wonder if they could have a mini-skirt uniforms again on Star Trek. I'd say I'd like that, but the offended may not. Probably not. Carlos says the fastest warp core ever recorded. I'm not sure. And Donnie says, here's my recent YouTube upload. Boy, Donnie's just taking advantage of me getting mad of links. So, oh yeah, you told me about that. So that's your recreated 20th Century Fox logo. I gotta say, it looks pretty good. I think I have to bring it over to this screen. This is made. Yeah, so there's his 20th Century Fox logo. And that is made from scratch, if I remember what you said correctly. Aberjan says, Zorg Industries ZF-1 Swiss Army gun is my favorite, even when it comes to self-destruct button. That is a great weapon. I mean, it's silly, but it's great. Would you be willing to 3D print missing parts from old toys models? Well, would I be willing to? I suppose. I would have to have an STL file and everything. But I'm still learning stuff, so don't bet on me being able to get anything perfect yet. The magnetic accelerator gun from Demolition Man was kind of cool. I did think that was a cool weapon. When Gary was talking about the lawsuit, he dismissed the DS9 stealing from B5 while attacking CBS over the indie game dev and they stole from because it goes against the narrative. Well, I didn't listen to the stream, so I'm not going to speak for Gary. All right. Now, the thing is, though, is that my understanding as far as DS9 and Babylon 5, and there are a lot of people that are more knowledgeable than me on it, so if any of you are out there, I just realized I'm still showing the wrong screen there. If any of you are out there that are experts on this, tell me, because, you know, I need to know. But the my understanding is they settled out of court, basically. That they and everybody knows Deep Space Nine stole stuff from Babylon 5. That's not really, I mean, I don't know why you would deny it. It's a dark point in Star Trek history, but it's a resolved point in Star Trek history. And the funny thing is, you know how you beat a lawsuit like that as far as public opinion? Produce an awesome show. No offense to my Babylon 5 loving friends, but DS9 was a better show. Sent you a do not read on air Twitter DM. I will check it out later, Sci-Fi. It is confirmed that the blonde from 2002 video was last seen getting into Bird's Jeep, and he was overheard asking if she wanted to see his basement. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Darren says, the Ferengi energy whips and Starfleet fab phasers from TNG Season 1 were also weapons. Yeah, they were. Horrible, horrible weapons. June says, I wonder what nihilism Trek would inspire. Really? Well, yeah. And Darren says, I'm tired of Hawaii 5-0. I want Wisconsin 3-0. Well, you should do it. Tentacle says, Section 31 badges are an abomination. Of course they are. Look, am I saying that it makes sense that you have the super secret Section 31 people walking around with badges to identify themselves? No, that, from a canonical standpoint, that is ridiculous and stupid. I'm just saying it looks cool. I think it's cool looking. And thank you, Thomas, by the way, for sending this to me. I like the way it looks. I just don't like what it represents in universe. You gave STD an inch, aka black badges. They will take a mile. Now, I'm. You know what, Josh? I will not and cannot be a 100% hater. I will give credit where credit is due. Not absolutely everything about Star Trek Discovery is bad. For example, Anson Mount as Christopher Pike was actually good. And what shocked me to death was that spinning bearded Spock was actually pretty good. They butchered him in the last episode of season 2, and then they crapped on the carcass in that awful short trek. But take those 2 episodes out, and Spock was actually not bad. And so I'm going to give absolute credit with that. Yes, I do like the black badge design, but this is about the only design element of Discovery that I like. But you got to give credit where credit is due. If you don't, you're being intellectually dishonest. Now, yes, Michael Burnham is a horribly designed and executed character. The entire premise of the show is flawed fundamentally. The ship designs are horrible from every race. The only decent looking ship in the entire series is the Enterprise, and we only get to see it a couple of times. Now the Shinzo, if it had better, if they made it look more Starfleet, would have been actually pretty cool. The Discovery was a freaking joke. But yeah. Melface says, any anime you like? Not a ton, but a little bit. Akira, I know that's an easy one, but I love that movie. It's a great movie. Death Note, really, really enjoy. Just starting to get into Trigun. I like what I've seen of it, but I haven't finished it. Attack on Titan, I watched the first season and found it very interesting, but I haven't watched the rest yet. But am I a big anime nut? No. Mrs. Antrekker likes anime more than me. But Mrs. Antrekker's favorite, by the way, if anybody's wondering, is Howl's Moving Castle. If you really want to impress Mrs. Antrekker the next time she's on, tell her about how awesome Howl's Moving Castle is. But that's her favorite. And that's why I gave her the 3 books about that universe for a Valentine's gift. Let's see. I saw secret footage of Bird driving his Jeep. He hit a bump, and the cab rose to the right where the frame continues forward. Bird, that's Jeep killer. Yep. Well, that's Bird, all right. It lasted for 10? Yeah, amazingly. If on Star Trek topics on Facebook and many other videos about Trek on YouTube, I've been advertising your channel and the Manu interview, trying to get your channel some love. Thank you, Darth. I appreciate that, and I'm sure Manu does as well. And I know he was on Midnight's Edge. I haven't watched his interview with Midnight's Edge. I hope it went well for him. And he's a good guy. He deserves to get some love. Babylon 5 and DS9 were massively different stories and good on their own. They were very different, but there were elements that were stolen. And anybody that denies that is just in denial. JP says it looks all shiny and black. Indeed it does. Daniel says Star Trek's William Shatner won't return for a new series. Kirk's story is pretty well played out. I agree. Kirk's story is played out. Trekkie Gal says, I did like the look of the handguns in BSG, the remaster. The later, yeah, but they were more like regular old guns too. I gave credit as well, Michael. Credit to those who originated what my takes are based on. Credit to those who originated what my takes are based on. Oh, I get what you're saying. In regards to the Anas case, do you really think that the Discovery showrunners screen capped a point-and-click game and said, we must hire people who look like this? No, that's where I think they're pushing it too hard, honestly. That's the biggest mistake I see in the lawsuit. I do not think that the characters are based on the characters from the game, but I do think that the tardigrade thing is a little too much to ignore. Giant blue tardigrades that move people around the universe. Howard GU-17A, new model 5-barrel 58mm Gatling gun pod for General Jerwalk Batroid modes, and of course it's for a Macross. Its fighter is 5.59 meters tall. I have no idea what you're talking about there. I assume it must be from Warhammer or 40K or something. I kind of like the Shinzo's bridge was on the bottom of the saucer, but not much else. That was actually an interesting idea. Your opinion on who had the better antagonistic relationship, Londo and Jakar, Londo and Jakar, or Odo and Quark? That is actually a very, very tough one. Londo and Jakar, I loved. I loved their relationship because they did have a certain level of respect and a certain amount of loathing for each other. You could say the same thing about Odo and Quark, but I'm going to give it to Londo and Jakar, to be honest with you. Let's see. The Star Trek Discovery Enterprise, my favorite design of all versions. I wouldn't quite go that far, but you know, the funny thing about the Discovery Enterprise is it looks like an in-between from the original Constitution in the series and the refit Constitution from the films. It really looks like it's like a midway point in between. Which kind of, it's funny because had they had this series take place during that time frame, it would have worked. And in fact, what they could have done is instead of bringing in Captain Pike, bring in young Captain Decker. But no, they didn't do that. Josh says it was meant as a joke, but the anti-rant is great when you get on them. The black badges are actually for the emo of the crew. That's what it was. The original Jack Lord Hawaii 5-0 had the Knox class frigate in one episode, a sister ship of the one I served on. Wow, very cool. I did not know that. Darmok and Gelada Tanagra. Indeed, when the walls fell. Darren says, my favorite anime films, First of the North Star, Wicked City, and 8 Man After. I have not seen any of those. There are a few good-looking Starfleet ships in Star Trek Discovery. You've actually looked at the models. I haven't. So, I would probably... I'd say yes, but not Discovery herself. Some of the other Starfleet ships looked okay, but the problem is they looked wrong primarily because of the nacelles. Why were they all using squared nacelles when prior to this generation, in NX time, they had circular nacelles, and after this generation, they had circular nacelles. Why did they go circular, then to square, then to circular, then to square? That makes no sense. Thomas says, I sent to you on Twitter 2 images of Wikipedia, the DS9 Babylon 5 thing. Thank you, sir. Did I hear you once recommend Samurai Jack? Absolutely do I recommend Samurai Jack. And in fact, let me tell you how much I recommend Samurai Jack. I'm going to do something I've never done here before. Check this out. Okay, getting my camera out on my phone. And so we'll go here, see if I can get to the back of my leg. This is going to be a challenge. That didn't work. All right, try again. Let's see, was I able to do it this time? Well, close enough. All right, so this is... That's the back of my leg. Yes, that is Samurai Jack on the back of my leg. On my other leg, I have the Scotsman from Samurai Jack. And if I stand with my two legs together, it's Samurai Jack and the Scotsman back to back with their weapons drawn. So I love me some Samurai Jack. And June puts $5 Australian in there. Thank you so much, June. And there goes the announcement, late as always. Funny, no Canadian dollars today. I finally have a Canadian thing ready, and there's no Canadian dollars. Go figure. But speaking of Macross, I think Elon has been watching Macross Plus and ranting about jets and AI drones, prawn of the Barbie. I'll tell you, I'm not a big fan of all the drones and stuff in Picard. It's like, where, huh? But yeah, I get that. And it's a dance party with Bird.
Go see that big red rock in the outback.
So that poor professional woman.
This week at Outback,
This is the last known footage.
we're having Outback special with 2 lobster tails, $17.99. Ask your way.
Carl says, Star Trek Discovery value to Trek lore in general doesn't hold up. No. That's the big problem, is that Discovery does not hold up to the rest of canon, because it almost, particularly season 1, almost every episode does some massive canon violation. And I know that pissed me off left and right. But the underlying problem, here's the thing. If the show was awesome, I could have forgiven that. Just like when we talk about Enterprise, right? Some of the things on Enterprise really pissed me off, like the Romulan cloaking device that Darren so expertly talked about in his most recent video. Things like that genuinely piss me off, but Enterprise is a good show, so I can forgive that. The problem is that Discovery isn't a good show to make up for the fact that they do all this canon crap. But the problem is people think it's the canon crap that's the problem. It really isn't. I dislike Death Note because the bad guy always wins. Death Note is like cheering for the mob as they murder people. Actually, I think Death Note is an interesting take on nihilism, to be honest with you. And that is exactly why I don't like the nihilism in Trek. At least Death Note, I think, was trying to genuinely examine it. Was light... was it L? Was L justified in his actions, right? And if you were given something like a Death Note, let's see, is my Death Note over here? Of course not. I thought it was right here, but I guess not. Yeah, so if you happen to have a Death Note, would you write in it? You know, if somebody gave you a Death Note, complete with, you know, all the official rules of how the Death Note works, right? Would you, in fact, write some names? You know, so would you actually write, you know, what did we put in here? Laura Reloaded, Alex Kurtzman, Ryan Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, Roman Polanski, Michael Chabon, Let's see. Michael Chabon falls from the 10th floor of a building onto a 6-foot-long dildo, impaling himself. Yeah, that was suggested by someone. I said if you put in a super chat, I'll write a name if you want. And then Sean Cochran? Insert Tribble up rectum. Tribble reproduces until he explodes. Wow, that's a dark one. So yeah, would you write names in a death note though, or does human life have an intrinsic value, even corrupt and evil human life? Sci-Fi stole from each other. Bounce of Terror was shot remake of The Enemy Below. That's just the way all TV shows go. I don't think it was a shot-by-shot remake of Enemy Below. There are definitely some similar shots, but I don't think that it's a shot-by-shot remake. I do think, though, that obviously was inspired heavily by it. It would be cool to see Captain Kirk come back, but 1, Kirk died in Generations. 2, William Shatner's almost 90. He's been playing Kirk for 50 years. Let the man rest. Agreed. Kirk is my childhood hero. When I got to the one and only time I ever got truly starstruck was meeting William Shatner. But he's 90 years old. Let him do whatever the hell he wants to do. If he wants to do the stupid Unsolved Mysteries type show, whatever, that's fine. If he's just doing that for a buck or if he's just doing it for fun, I don't care. It's his life. He can do what the hell he wants. Jay says, yes, DS9 is a superior product. In fact, DS9 is what got me into Trek. It was so good, but if you tell a TNG fan, they will show their teeth and fight back like their life was threatened. Well, people do that for all the Treks, though. How dare you think that anything is better than the original series? How dare you think that anything is better than Next Gen? How dare you think that anything is better than Deep Space Nine? And yes, there are actually people that think that Discovery and Picard are the best of Trek. Those people are crazy, but that's what some people think. During the development of the game and show, tardigrades was being flown to the ISS, and relevant sci-fi should be current. No, and microscopic tardigrade is very screen-worthy. They were being flown to the ISS. Yeah, what's the point? You're trying to say, since they were both inspired to create giant versions of the tardigrades that glow blue and transport people around. Pure coincidence. I mean, it would be one thing if both just involved tardigrades, but they involve the same tardigrades. That's the problem. Bird of Prey says, there's no time frame Star Trek Discovery works. It just would have been less problematic, but still too many to accept. I assume you're talking about, someone said if it was in the future. It would be better if it was post-Next Gen, but yeah, it wouldn't fix everything. Because the core problem of Discovery is not the canon crap. The core problem of Discovery is the premise of the show and the character of Michael Burnham. That character needs to be completely revamped or removed. Bird of Prey's going to bed. Have a good one, Bird. In Trek lore, it was Robert April, then Christopher Pike, captained the Enterprise. How long was April in command? And would the Star Trek Discovery Enterprise more closely resemble the NX era at April? Good question. It is actually canon that Robert April was the first captain of the Enterprise, if you count the animated series as canon. That's the one time that Captain Robert April was mentioned and actually appeared in one episode. How long was April in command? I don't remember if they said in the episode. I'd have to rewatch it. I genuinely don't know. But I would guess it was at least 10 years. Would it resemble the Discovery Enterprise more closely, resemble the NX era? That I don't know. From basically what we've seen, it was the assumption at the time that the animated series came out that the Enterprise, the April command was the same Enterprise that later Christopher Pike commanded and then Kirk commanded. So that it was basically a Constitution-class ship. Fist of the North Star, you turd! Sorry, Darren. I thought Disco Enterprise looked like a cross between the NX-01 refit and the TOS Enterprise. My problem was the scale of the ship, however. Yeah, I didn't like the scale problem. That was definitely an issue for me. I love that Cartoon Network show, Michael. Even its theme tune. Yes, Samurai Jack is awesome. I don't have a problem with certain design ideas on ships going away and coming back. That happens in real life. Well, you know what, Darren? Then maybe, seriously, this might be an interesting one. Can you do a Submariner's perspective trying to look at the design of NX era to Discovery era to TOS era. Can you make that work? I would love to see you do it. Circle, 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 square. Circle, square, circle, square. Perhaps there are two competing contractors for warp nacelles. Well, you know, the funny thing is, in the novelization of Star Trek The Motion Picture, they actually talked about that the square nacelle was a more efficient design and that they learned it from the Klingons, because the Klingons obviously have squared nacelles. And this was in some of what Kirk was musing about the refit of the Enterprise. And that the Klingons had inferior power, but their ships could still keep up with Federation ships in terms of speed. And they figured out it was because of these superior warp nacelle designs, and so they copied the Klingons. Got to get back to the past, Samurai Jack, indeed. Okay, put your pants on. We don't want to see mini Samurai Jack. Wow, bunch of jerks. Tattoos are for mortals, says Darren. Okay. Those are 25% variant nacelles. Yeah, whatever. Sweet bird of prey, sweet dreams of she-males. And let's see. Josh says, sure, you never showed a Samurai Jack tattoo. Well, about a year. Did I show it before? All right, well, I don't remember. Disco ripped off Robotech now. Does this sound similar to Star Trek Discovery Spore Drive? Protoculture is an energy source derived from spores of a plant called the Flower of Life. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm not denying or confirming that it was borrowed from Robotech directly. However, almost any science fiction property that comes out, you can find elements that were borrowed from other science fiction properties. Now, am I defending the Spore Drive? Hell no. I thought the Spore Drive was a dumb idea. Especially for a prequel show to have such an advanced drive system that is superior to anything that anyone has in Trek. I mean, the Spore Drive could literally get Discovery home like that, right? If they had a Spore Drive. And so yeah, it was a stupid idea. But did they borrow from Robotech? I don't know. And it really doesn't really matter. That doesn't change the quality of the show. The show just sucked. Season 2 of Discovery seemed just as bad and or worse because what they did with Spock. I disagree, Miles, but I don't know. Did you watch all of Season 2? I honestly don't know how to feel about the use of that footage of Bird dancing. Mixed emotions. Well, I understand, yeah, because it's kind of melancholy to think. But I'm looking forward to the day Bird dances again, as bad a dancer as he is. You're looking for a new decent anime. I will heartily suggest Vinland Saga. It's set near 1095, has an Akira story feel to it. Also had Vikings set in Marlborough County, England on fire. Interesting, but no, I'm not looking for a new anime because I don't have time to watch what I already have. Fist of the North Star is pretty cool. It's like Mad Max mixed with martial arts and superhumans. Sounds interesting. I saw that bad girl was dancing with on... Bird was dancing with on the back of a milk carton the other day. I'm not surprised. Commander Center says, what was your favorite time travel Star Trek episode? City on the Edge of Forever. If I were drinking every time you said nihilism, I would be in the ER by now. Not really. Nihilism. Nihilism. L is the good guy. Okay, I was getting L and Light confused. I haven't watched it in a couple of years. Light had the Death Note, not L. Sorry. Had it backwards. Yes, I made a mistake. I am sorry. And there's Daniel again with the rumors that Star Trek Discovery renewed for a 5th season. Please, Daniels, this is not the rumor channel. No, that is not confirmed. Unless it comes directly from CBS, it's just a rumor. If you listen carefully to the Dancer Bird video, you can actually hear that woman's shackles clinking. Yeah, we'll have to... that might be true. We have to examine that. What is a Death Note? Doesn't sound very Christian to me. Is it a form of witchcraft? Well, in the story, the Death Notes belong to basically what in Christian mythos would be like an angel of death. In the Japanese tradition, these are death demons. But the term demon into Japanese doesn't mean the same thing as it does in Western culture. But if a demon drops their death note to Earth, then a human can use it. And any name written in the death note, that person dies. It's basically like a book of, it's almost like a book of the dead, if you will. Once your name is written in the death note, you are doomed. And you can specify in the death note when and how the person will die. If you don't specify, then they simply die immediately of a heart attack.
Hello, world.
And Harry puts in $2. Thank you so much. And just says, anime? Yes. Death Note is anime. I guess that's what you were asking. They could make a pitch-perfect CGI Captain Kirk from the TOS era. Would you watch production featuring that? Would I watch it? Yeah. Would I encourage it? No. How about this? How about you do something new? And if you want to recast Kirk, I'm fine with that. You know what? Chris Pine did not do the worst possible job. It's just that the material he had, especially after the first film, were not exactly spectacular. So, yeah. Remember when Death Note was a secret between you and the subscribers, but you can't keep secrets? Well, it's still a secret between me and the subscribers. You're all subscribers, right? Hope so. I wouldn't write anything in the book as life has meaning and we have flaws for a reason. You see, that's the ultimate question that Death Note asks. You know, and obviously in the case of the character ironically named Light, he did choose to write in it. And Surf says, is Anti-Tricker skipping or is it just me? If you're not putting Anti-Tricker in, I'm not skipping on purpose. I'm only reading the ones addressed to me, and that's why I see it says right up there. Make sure you do that, because if you don't, there's 103 people watching right now. I can't keep up as it is, so let alone if I tried to read every single comment. So I apologize for that, Surf. It's not intentional. Let's see. The Discovery tardigrade isn't blue. Well, let me take a look, because there are shots. Because it wasn't a. Let's see. I haven't rewatched season 1 since it first came out because I don't care for it. Alright, so let's see if we can find images of the Discovery tardigrade. I think the reason people say it's blue is because when it's in the chamber and the spores are in the chamber, switch screens here. So when it's in the chamber, let me move this down here. There, you can see it there. It obviously the glowing blue spores, but then anything in the chamber glows blue because that's just the way it is. When they're looking at the readouts on it, the readouts are all blue. The tardigrade itself is, arguable as far, I'd have to rewatch an episode to really gauge it. Trying to see if there's a picture. I mean, there's an actual tardigrade. Let's see. Yeah, don't see a good picture of the tardigrade that's not involving the stupid chamber. So, oh well. I don't want to rewatch it. Not now, anyway. Alright. Where were we? I can dislike Kurtzman and Abrams' job on Trek, but put them in a Death Note? No. Mr. Ross says, the canon is just as much of a problem as the rest of the Star Trek Discovery issues. Trek has never been perfect for canon, but Star Trek Discovery is by far the worst in that field. Don't know that I would necessarily agree with you, Mr. Miles. There are definitely some egregious canonical errors in Discovery. But is it truly the worst? I would have to do a side-by-side comparison with a series like Enterprise and see how they line up. I think Enterprise may be the competitor for worst. I do think it's definitely worse than Picard. It's definitely worse than TNG, DS9, or the original series. Maybe Voyager, and Enterprise, I think, is the one that really competes with it for level of consistent violations. Daniel says, Andrew, I have a friend called Steampunk, and he worships the altar of Gene Roddenberry and thinks TNG is the best show in history. And when I tell him my favorite is DS9, he fights. Well, people get very passionate about it. And you know what? If I have a couple of friends like that, and you know what I do? I don't talk about that subject with them. Max says, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard running Star Trek Beyond Salvation. I agree with Gary and Dictor Van Doomcock and Mecha Random and Midnight's Edge. Well, I think that Discovery is really what's run Star Trek into the ground. Picard does suffer from some problems that actually are simply because it's produced by the same people who produced Discovery. So some problems were unavoidable, such as the visual style of Picard. Since it's reminiscent of Discovery, it invokes feelings of Discovery, and that's a negative for Picard. That being said, on its own, I don't think that Picard is a horrible show. But yeah. Stuart says, hello, I hope you are well, and it was nice to see Picard on the show in the Borg ship. I actually did like, that was the first time where they got in the Borg ship, and I thought it was interesting. Discovery ship designs were meant to fit in the TOS era. It was meant to visually, it was meant to visually reboot, hence why Discovery Connie looks different. Yeah, but I'm sorry, that's crap to me. That is absolute crap to me. I don't believe in a visual reboot. And you know what? Neither did Trek until now. Because here's the thing. When Deep Space Nine revisited the original series, and when Enterprise revisited the original series, in both cases, they perfectly recreated the design aesthetic of the original series. They didn't need to butcher it and redesign it from the ground up just to make it look better, because it looked better just seeing it faithfully reproduced. Sam U. Ray throws $2 in, says, example of canon errors in Enterprise? Well, how about the fact that the Romulans had cloaking devices 100 years before the Romulans had cloaking devices? There's a good one. How about the fact that it was established in Star Trek The Next Generation that after first contact with the Klingons, there was a decades-long war that didn't happen because after first contact with the Klingons respected Archer. All right? So, yeah. There's a couple off the top of my head. We could also talk about the weapons. We could talk about the technology of the show. There's a lot of problems with it. The Klingons start using the Federation warp scale 1 through 10 because it was more efficient. I don't know about that. Edger, he fights back and says TNG is superior to Trek, and the majority of Trek fans like TNG. Lots of people try to invoke the majority of people feel X. First of all, unless you have statistics to prove it, shut up. Second of all, even if you do have statistics to prove it, saying that the majority of people like something doesn't make it better. Imagine, and by the way, enjoying something is completely subjective, so it doesn't really matter if you can both be right. For you, DS9 is the best Trek. For him, TNG is. That's personal preference and nothing more than that. Jeff says, imagine insane way if she ever found out about the spore drive. Well, she would use it, which I wouldn't blame her. Or are you saying how crazy she'll get if she finds out if she gets a classified document about it? Even the Borg's latest transporter pales compared to the stupid spore drive in terms of potential. That's true. I watched you watch season 2, but no, I didn't watch it myself. I need to retain what sanity I have left. Well, that's the thing. If you watch season 2, you would realize it really is not as bad as season 1. It actually had a couple of decent episodes. Just a couple. Like the one with the Telosians was actually pretty good. I like the idea of using a Saltian drive as an emergency backup to the warp drive. Post TNG, the Saltian Wave warp drive was featured in the episode New Ground of TNG. I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember the details of how it worked or anything. But I do vaguely remember there was like a wave-based warp drive. And Death by Rabies throws a couple of bucks in and says, I want to see Worf and Picard. Probably not going to happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing him as well. Darren says, this just in, Discovery renewed for a 9th season. Axonar's in the house. How you doing, Axonar? I'm about ready to punch Darren. Angel, let's see. Angel, that's Christopher Walken's Death Note book then. That would be funny. Christopher Walken should have been in the Netflix version of Death Note. That would have been absolutely hilarious. Add to the Death Note Kuroga, Death by Berto Prey singing. Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And let's see. Captain Pike was in command of the Enterprise as early as 2254, as well as stated April served from 2245 to 2250 in Discovery. Pike served as his first officer. Well, there you go. So, according to Discovery, he was only the captain for 5 years. Like I said, I don't remember in animated series what they said. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a contradiction there. If there is a contradiction there, I would probably go with the animated series. I watched Meet Joe Black the other day. Good blast from the past rewatch. Actually, yeah, not a bad movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. If you write someone's name in the Death Note, will the person who wrote the name, the Death Note book, go to hell? No. The rule is that if you write in the Death Note, if you choose to write in the Death Note, you will neither go to heaven nor hell. Now, what that means is kind of up for debate. I think it means you live in a limbo-like state with the demonic entities. Source Memory Alpha. I'll take your word for it. My nihilist view is like a blessing for the living, a bunch of flowers for the dead, with a sword of justice, punishment of death for the wicked. Thus shall we arrive at the saints. I don't know what that's from, Ralph. 103 watching, only 56 likes. Come on, peoples. Well, you know, I understand it takes a lot of effort to hit that like button. It really does. I would write the internet down in the Death Note along with bureaucracy, Democrats, and Republicans. Actually, it's funny you should say things like that. Night Breeze puts in another $1 and says, oh, hell, Hypnoturge. Give me just a minute, Night Breeze. When you read the rules of the Death Note, you can't write like groups of people. You have to write a proper name for an individual. Let me see. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, this note will not take effect unless the writer has the person's face in their mind when writing his or her name. Therefore, people sharing the same name will not be affected. So, if you want to kill a person named Joe, while you're writing Joe's name, you have to envision Joe in your mind, or else it won't work. If the cause of death is written within 40 seconds, it will happen. If the cause of death is not specified, the person will simply die of a heart attack. 40 seconds. After writing the cause of death, details of the death should be written in the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And so on. But yes, you can't just write, you know, say CBS All Access, right? That's not a person. Hey, besides photon torpedoes, did Kirk's Enterprise carry any other kind of torpedo? Well, not that is mentioned directly, no. I do not believe so. Energy whip scene in Buck Rogers similar to the Ferengi energy whip. Yeah, but it was better in Buck Rogers, even though it was cheesier. I meant your audio and visual were skipping Max Headroom style. Stopped when I refreshed. Weird. You know, Birdstream did that to me earlier today. I don't know, maybe it's a YouTube thing. If I had a Death Note, I would have to request for more blank pages. Actually, the note itself is magical, so you never run out of room. Daniel says, Anti-Tracker is, as a 27th century Enterprise captain, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tracker, captain of the Enterprise H. I would watch that Trek show. Make it happen, CBS. I wouldn't. But thank you. Jude says, here's why I think Star Trek Discovery sold from Anas, but not from Robotech. Anas cannot afford big lawyers, while Harmony Gold is known for big laws. That's true. There you go. Has anyone tried to keep up with the 25% canonical differences? What are you talking about? Are you talking about in Picard? Are you talking about in Discovery? First of all, the 25% difference, and all due respect to my friends over at Midnight's Edge, I respectfully disagree with their conclusions on that. There is no legal reason why there's no contract that says that everything has to be 25% different. The reason that everything is 25% different was an artistic choice and an attempt to be able to market separate toys. So, because if it looked exactly the same as before, they wouldn't have a chance to create new toys to sell, right? They were hoping it would be popular and people would collect crap from it. But it had nothing to do with any kind of legal requirement, and it was not like, and I'm sorry, the Prime timeline is just the frickin' Prime timeline, and people need to get over it. This is canonical Trek, as much as we may hate it. And let's see, Tentacle says there are no canon violations in Enterprise because of the concept of a temporal Cold War. Wrong. Sorry, Tentacle. You know what? Here's the problem. The temporal Cold War could fix every canonical issue in Enterprise, in Discovery, in Picard, in every Star Trek series. You could use the temporal Cold War to fix it all, if you resolve the temporal Cold War, which was never resolved. And so, until there's a resolution and we see an effect to where things are quote-unquote fixed in the timeline, that's just trying to come up with excuses. And that's why I have my triple timeline theory. I think that makes the most sense, and I think that would resolve a lot of the issues. But, you know, if you want to think that just because they mentioned a temporal Cold War in Enterprise, that fixes any violation, well, have fun with that. Enterprise isn't as bad as Star Trek Discovery in terms of canon violation. They did screw things up, but please also consider the things they went out of their way to get right. Star Trek Discovery made no effort. I will give you that. I will definitely give you that, Mr. Miles. Andrea, the Borg Cube and TNG, best of both worlds versus the NX-01 Enterprise. Well, the NX-01 would be very quickly assimilated. If Picard came first, then Discovery would still... would they still be hate for both shows? If Picard came first, then Discovery, would they still be hate for both shows? No, I don't think so. I think that if Picard came first, I think the reaction to it would have been much different. That people would have actually liked it. Then, the thing with Discovery, if Discovery took place after Picard or simultaneous with Picard as opposed to prior to the original series, I don't think people would have had a big problem with that either, even though the ridiculousness of the spore drive is a concept for the show, because this is post-Voyager, so it would make sense that this is the next leap. This is the next warp drive breakthrough. Death Dealer says, SC tried to make the same argument that is still canon despite being a visual reboot. Well, I'm sorry, I don't buy, the whole visual reboot thing. I actually bought into that a little bit with Star Trek the Motion Picture with the Klingons, but then they fixed a non-issue, right? So for most of us that were alive back in the 70s when Star Trek the Motion Picture came out, when the Klingons were first shown in that movie, everybody's like, "What? Those aren't Klingons." But then we just kind of accepted, well, this is what Klingons would have looked like all along had they had the makeup budget, right? And so this is just basically, this is what they were supposed to look like. Sorry, they didn't look like that before. Okay, fine. And most of the fans accepted that and were perfectly fine with that until Trials and Tribulations, when they actually go back in time and in a brilliant move, they establish that the visual aesthetic of the 23rd century during Kirk's time was just that era's style. The hairstyles, the clothing styles, everything was just the fashion of the late 23rd century. And that, my friends, is brilliant. Because you know what? You know that we've already seen waves come and go of retro styles, right? People dressing up like it's the 1970s or the 1950s, and it'll happen again and again and again. In the 23rd century, it's entirely feasible that there'll be a similar style period like the 1960s. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. But then they show the Klingons. And Worf has that line, yes, they are Klingons, and we don't talk about it. And all of a sudden, blew a lot of Trekkies' minds because they're like, holy crap, they're actually acknowledging that the Klingons changed their physical appearance. Okay, it's in canon now. Then, and I'll give Enterprise credit for this Enterprise series, albeit a little bit on the clumsy side, but they attempted to explain it through a retrovirus. Totally made sense. We have now official canonical explanation for the change of the Klingons' physical appearance from the original series to the movie era. Now, if you're going to come in and change it again, you can't just say visual reboot. Now you have to, we've already established in this franchise that if you're going to change the look of it, damn it, you're going to explain it. And they didn't. They just said, well, everything looks different. DS9's Tribbles episode was an anniversary tribute. Enterprise was an obvious ratings grab. First of all, In a Mirror Darkly was probably the single best episode of Enterprise. So call it what you will, it was good television. As for Tribbles, yes, it was an anniversary tribute, and it was also a damn good episode. I don't give a crap for the motivation behind it. The point of it is that they recreated the original look, and the fans loved it. You don't have to change the look. If you don't want it to look like the original series, don't have it take place at the same time as the original series. It's really that simple. If you want to do something that's never been done before, then do it 100 years after Voyager. If you want to do something that might look kind of like the original series era, or maybe kind of like Next Generation because you want to do your own thing, have it take place in the 80 years in between the original series and Next Generation. But for God's sakes, don't throw it 11 years before the original series and completely screw the tech up. Sorry. Enterprise gets too much hate, and I'm sick of it. Yes, I'm an Enterprise fan. I like Enterprise. But that's what I was saying earlier, though, is that the big thing about Enterprise is that, yes, Enterprise has canonical errors to spare. But the difference between Enterprise and Discovery is that underneath all those canonical problems is a good show. That's what Discovery lacks. My thing about Enterprise would be that they had the transporter. There was an edict from the network. I would have used a lot less and with a lot more mishaps. I think they shouldn't have had it at all. Star Trek Discovery Season 2 finale is the worst mind F. Star Trek Discovery Season 2 finale was just stupid. I mean, it was literally... I mean, they had actually some good things going this season, and then they just said, you know what? Screw it. How can we completely screw everything? How's it going, buddy? I'm off to work. Sick home. Sick. Hope you are doing better. I'm off work sick. Oh, I'm sorry, springtime. Well, I took a day off, but not because I'm sick, just because I needed to rest, and I'm going to wrap it up in just a couple of minutes here. And Sam donated $2. Thank you so much, Sam. What's the history of the Klingon cloak stolen? Well, that's another big problem in Discovery, is that, okay, so the Klingons in the original lore did not have cloaking devices until Star Trek III. That was the first canonical instance of a Klingon using a cloaking device. That was also the first appearance of the Klingon bird of prey. That was also when the huge speculation came up about this Klingon-Romulan alliance, because before there was fan theories about a Klingon-Romulan alliance because Romulans were seen in Klingon ships in the Enterprise incident. So there's the behind-the-scenes thing that, oh, the Romulans and the Klingons temporarily were friends, and the Klingons gave the Romulans some D7s. Then, after Star Trek III came out, the fan theory evolved to say, well, the Romulans gave the Klingons some bird-of-prey type ships that could cloak. Made sense, right? And then after that, the Klingons had cloaks, and the Romulans had cloaks, blah, blah, blah. However, in Discovery, now they say, oh, no, the Klingons always had cloaking devices. Why the hell not? By the way, the Klingons almost completely wiped out the Federation because of their great cloaking technology, even though Captain Kirk had never heard of a cloaking device before Balance of Terror. You know, these people make you angry just from seeing Burnham. You know those people who make you angry just from seeing them. Burnham has become that for me. Yeah, I understand that. Spore Drive proved to be dangerous and needed a sentient navigator, genetically modified one. That's true, but they could have gotten around that eventually. Breaking news, Star Trek Discovery to get 10 movies directed by Peter Jackson. Oh, jeez. If they do a Pike series, it should be episodic with moments of overarching stories in 15 to 18 episodes and use short treks to introduce his background. Agreed. Darren says, for some reason I thought April was supposed to be the captain of the ship during the initial construction and shakedown. He was a plank owner, I thought. I don't know, I'd have to do some more research on April. Never really thought about him all that much because he was really never a major part of, the lore. I want to see an NX refit in that Pike series. That would actually be kind of cool to bring it in. Captain Trek says, please like, subscribe, and make sure the bell is dark for notifications. Thank you, my friend. And 65 likes. Keep them coming. Thank you, guys. Sci-Fi Sith says hello there. Mustard Mom says, Death Note. What if there was a pair of twins who had the same name? Don't know. Let's see. From what I remember, if you use a Death Note, you just die and no limbo, no heaven, no hell. I don't remember. I'd have to look through all the rules in the book. Isaiah says, everybody agrees TOS is the best Trek because it's their favorite according to your logic, anti-Trekker. It's not the best Trek. Well, the best Trek for you is whatever Trek you enjoy the most. That is subjective. That's the very definition of something that's subjective. To say that something is the best, particularly something that's just geared for entertainment, is a 100% subjective opinion, right? You may think that Logan is the best X-Men movie. And I might be an idiot and think that Days of Future Past is the best X-Men movie. Now, we can have those different opinions because we're different people. However, what you can't do is say, like if you're looking at something like Star Trek, you can argue whether, like, some people think Discovery is the best Trek. Fine, that's their subjective opinion. What you can't say is Discovery doesn't have canonical errors, because it clearly does, and that has nothing to do with subjective opinion. That is objective if you look at the facts. So the Gorn in the closet, the whole Spock had a sister, all the stuff that are retconned, the Klingons having cloaking devices, the Klingon War, all this stuff was retconned into the show. Those are canonical problems. I heard the manga Ryuk said that light would go to nothingness. I don't know. I have the manga, but I have not read it. So the Klingons stole the cloak from the Romulans, and that's why they can't have it earlier. Well, basically, there's no canonical explanation for the Klingons having cloaking devices. It's assumed that the Romulans gave them to the Klingons during their alliance, but that's all assumption. We don't know for sure. However, in Discovery, the Klingons apparently had cloaking devices before. Did you hear that the coronavirus reached Florida? How does Turkestan plan to help? Well, Turkestan is allowing anybody to come into Turkestan as long as they are screened. We have a foolproof screening mechanism, and so we basically take people into Turkestan that are clean and not infected, and anybody who is infected, we drop off at Kuroga. Well, it's 5 a.m. here, ready for bed in the night shift. Good night to everyone. Good night. Good night, Continuum. Have a good one, my friend. I'm actually going to wrap it up, too. It's getting late, and I'm sure Mrs. Anti-Trekker is like, geez, come on. And so, let me see, make sure I didn't miss any super chats or anything. No. So, I apologize if I didn't get to all your chats. I did the best I could, but when we have over 100 people, it's impossible. I do want to thank each and every one of you for hanging out with me, because you guys are freaking awesome. I'm really, really disappointed that there were no Canadian super chats today. Just saying. That hurt my feelings, because I got this Canadian super chat thing ready to go, but not a single Canadian wanted to drop a buck my way. What's the freaking deal with that? Huh? Seriously, what's the deal? Because if you had, I'll give you a little sample of what you would have gotten.
We clubbed the Fuchs. I clubbed the Fook out of the Fuchs. Fook, 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 Fook. Fook me, no, Fook you. I'll Fook you with club. Anti-Trackers is just wait until a Canadian gives me a super chat. Well, in Canada, we have poutine, and we have,
So there we go. Bird trying to sound Canadian. Nightbreeze throws a couple of bucks in to wrap things up, says me poo. Thank you so much, my friend. Absolutely me poo. Don't forget, if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag me poo. It means that you're a piece of crap, and so am I. We're all just people, and we need to stop trying to elevate ourselves above others. And that goes for me as well as anybody else. And so, yeah, that's a healthy attitude to have, in my humble opinion. So where's Captain Foley when we need him? Good question. And what would work better than the euro? I don't know. Turdistani turdlets? I mean, the Turdistani turdlet is probably the most solid currency around. Get it? Solid currency. That's a joke.
Making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got.
hello world.
Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid?
And Editor Supreme donates $1. Gee, I wonder who that could be. Editor Supreme says, do you consider the visual updates done to TOS to be retcons? Things like changing the phaser colors, the Gorn being able to blink, and so on. Such things that were changed or added. No. And I'll tell you why. That's actually not a bad question. But the thing about if you look at the TOS remastered, at no point did they do anything that changed the story, right? They didn't like in Star Wars, they didn't suddenly add crap that wasn't there before, right? And that when you see things like changing phaser colors, they were only doing that for consistency's sake. They weren't doing it because, there's some reason that the phasers were one color and changed it to another, other than, oh, well, these phasers have always been blue, so let's just make them blue instead of red like they were in this episode. So it's just done for the sake of fixing continuity. As for the Gorn blinking, who cares? I mean, there was nowhere did it say the Gorn couldn't blink. They just, obviously the rubber suit of the day couldn't do that. So they just added that to make it look a little more real. And again, I'm okay with that. I would not be okay if all of a sudden the Gorn had an 8-foot-long tail that was swishing about and, grabbing Kirk by the throat or something. That would have been stupid. But him blinking? Yeah, no problem. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Miles, to your satisfaction. If not, well, then I don't know what to say. Screw you.
Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your
And no answer, they have not mentioned the Remans yet.
And they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Turds of a feather flock together, that's what we believe. We know a place that's got you covered, a place to get relief. Wouldn't you like to say me poo? Sometimes you wanna go where Turdistanis know your name. And all Kurogans are to blame. You wanna be where you can see Kuroga go up in flames. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
You son of a bitch, anti-tracker!